I think you summed it up nicely where, be very clear with your promise
Mhm.
and only make promises that you absolutely can keep.
Mhm.
Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, the weekly show for nomads, work campers, RVers, and entrepreneurs looking to earn a living or build a business while enjoying the RV lifestyle. This week's host is Jim Nelson. Let's settle in and enjoy the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by RV Life.
Happy New Year! I can still say that, right? It is still January. I'm still Jim at RV Life, and this is a new Ask Us Anything episode of the RV Entrepreneur. So, I'm very happy to share my discussion with Rose and Glynn. The new year is a time to reset, refresh, and refocus on ourselves and our business. It brings a new you, new business opportunities, and new challengers. And every year, this is a time when people make resolutions and set goals. Well, not me. Not really, but we'll get into that. My co-hosts and I, however, did feel this is a good time to talk about goal setting. So we discussed priorities, creating achievable goals, and setting sights on the horizon. And I provide my argument for setting the bar low. Resolutions and goals are basically promises to yourself. So we discussed the importance of keeping promises to our customers, our employees, and partners. I also dive a little deeper into making those promises in the first place. Finally, we talk about being genuine and treating your customers like family instead of a fast buck. And this, once again, comes down to relationship building. Check the show notes for past episodes and resources mentioned while we fulfill our promise to a partner who helps make this show possible. This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. Rose, Glynn, it's so good to see you guys again, and thank you for joining me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jim.
Happy New Year, Jim. Happy New Year, everyone.
You know, this is one of our AMA or AUA, our Ask Us Anythings, and we didn't get any questions, so we decided to kind of run with the New Year theme here. And Glynn, you had some great suggestions about, setting goals and intentions and resolutions. And personally, I'm not a resolution type of guy. Do you guys make resolutions for yourself personally?
We do not. I steer clear of resolutions.
Yeah.
If I want to change something, I change it that day.
Yeah.
Right. And I make small little goals, that are attainable. Nothing too grandiose, because that just adds more stress and pressure to your life. And usually you don't attain it that way either.
I agree 100%. And I think it kind of relates to business and entrepreneurs as well. So let's dive into that a bit. I'm going to drop a link in the show notes about one of my blog posts I did for the RVE news blog on goal setting. I don't know if it was around the beginning of the year or not, but it doesn't matter, because this matters when you start a business, in the middle of business, in the middle of the year, whatever. But my position was kind of along the lines of Hunter S. Thompson. And, people aren't going to think that that's, one of the great business leaders and mind leaders or thought leaders and that type of thing. But he has an essay he wrote to someone about, getting on the right path with their business and setting goals. And he said, we must make the goal conform to the individual rather than make the individual conform to the goal. And I think that really makes sense in a business sense, because, we shouldn't set goals based on any certain metrics or achievements just to check them off for checking off sake, right? So many people get out there and they set their goals with traditional mindset to achieve it just kind of for achievement's sake. But goals should align with our own unique journey. They shouldn't force us to conform to any rigid societal standards or predefined benchmarks, right?
Is society always correct anyway?
No.
Right. And what really matters here is, as our viewers would understand, is that it's the journey that matters, not the destination.
Oh, that is so true.
Yeah. The fulfillment comes from enjoying and learning the journey itself, not ticking off the boxes of where you rent, where you stay, where you go, filling out the map. It's all about what you enjoyed while you're there and the things you learned along the way, right?
It's that experience that you grow on. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we learn from those experiences, and tough goals and challenging resolutions, they can distract us from really appreciating and adapting that dynamic nature of our business. We adapt to it and we learn, and we fail and fail harder, and that's the way we learn. We get through it, rather than looking at that that goal that at the end to win the medal or whatever. How do you guys feel about setting goals and for your business? Like, do you guys do it?
Well, there's always the loose goal, but if you're way too rigid, how do you know that change as you are progressing toward that goal? Something changes that's external to you that you had no control over. And if you remain too rigid, I feel like you're put in a position where now you're just stressed and you're anxious versus sort of being like water that flows over the rock. Versus, follow me on that aspect? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And it kind of means it's similar to the way I look at it with, like, you got to redefine success in a way, because if you just keep trying to reach that particular goal, specifically with its, terms and conditions, and you don't meet them exactly, you might feel like a failure. But maybe instead of focusing too hard on the goal setting, redefine what the success means to you.
Of course. And that success, it's different for everybody. And it might be 1 million followers. It might be 1 million clicks. It might be $1 million. Yeah.
But start small. I mean, these huge, grandiose goals they're wonderful, but really just the small, like, okay, this week I want to get to, creating this content or creating this video and make it look, whatever you're thinking, and have that goal. Okay, I've got that week goal. Good. I got my daily goals, week goal. Yes, you have maybe your yearly goal, but you're really focusing on these small little attainable things, I feel like.
Rose, I like the way you put that. You've got something way, way, way out in the future, and then you divide that by the number of weeks and divide that by the number of days, and then challenge or check off that one step each day that gets you closer to the week, and then that week gets you closer to that year. So yes.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I'm actually a fan for setting the bar low. Everyone always says, set the bar high and achieve those goals and get over those challenges. But what happens when you set more realistic goals and a lower bar, you get over that bar more often, and you get that little boost of adrenaline, and you feel accomplishment, and you build upon that. So when you set the bar low, you can raise it higher each time and get to that high goal probably more safely and more effectively, maybe not as quickly, but you're more likely not to just hit that bar and fall back on the ground. And I'm pretty done with talking about analogies. But Glynn, you said something there about the one thing and the year goal, and you break it on down, and that aligns perfectly with Renee's is a big fan of the one thing, and I will look up the author's name and get that link in the show notes as well. But the one thing is a book and a podcast and a workbook and a planning whole methodology where you do the one thing that matters most for yourself, your business, and your health that day. Mm-hmm. And it's based on the one thing you want to do for the year, and then the one thing you want to do each month, and the one thing you want to do each week. And each day you have the one thing that kind of trickles upstream towards the one thing. And we asked about before we talked here about personal experiences, and Renee and I do goal setting every year, and we're sitting down, and my personal experience with this was she had her one thing workbook out, and she was filling in all the blanks to do the one thing here and there, and I was trying to convey, put on my Hunter S. Thompson hat and convey how I felt about these goals, and she was getting frustrated, and I just kind of explained that I had more of a nihilistic approach on this, like, we just need to kind of set those points on the horizon and head in that
Mm-hmm.
direction rather than make sure we get to that one place. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love the one thing. I haven't heard, I didn't
I'll have
realize
to
it was
check that out.
a
Mm-hmm.
workshop, a workbook, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. But that is something that I do every day. I keep a list of all of my tasks on Google Notes. And if you know, you can slide Google Note tasks up and down.
Yes.
And the one thing, every night before bed, I move that one thing for the next day up to the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's it's always my workout. So let me rephrase that. I move it below do my workout.
Yes.
And then, and it might even be as simple as the boys' schoolwork that day.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one thing that must get done.
Yeah.
But it's usually what is going to move the needle forward, what is going to progress us forward in our next step, in our next chapter, which is the one thing that has to be done before I can look at anything else.
Right. And get it done first thing when you have, I think it's for most people, but especially for those morning people, get it done. Put it first things first. Get it done when you have that energy, that mental energy, physical energy to get those things done and checked off your list, and you feel good. And then the other things can come after.
Well, we state it this way because we are morning people. But what if
Yeah.
you're like our friend Micah, who's a night owl?
Yeah.
Do you move that one thing to your most productive time, which happens to be maybe 11 o'clock at night?
He does.
That's where you put it.
So that's where he puts it. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because there's the concept of time chunking and breaking it down into little spots.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, get up at 4 a.m. and do your writing then. But I'm not going to, if I'm going to get up at 4 a.m., I must be going for a 3-hour run or something because I need to get back to work by 7. And so I was wondering if you guys, Rose, you kind of said, just kind of get that thing done out and get it done out of the way while you're most productive. But what if like you're not a morning person or a night person, or do you guys have any tips for just like getting it done? Like, just get it done. That's really hard for me because there's all sorts of bells and whistles out there that distract us in life. But what can help people, hunker down and bury their head and get the work done? How do you get started when you have this major task, or it might be daunting? Where do you begin?
There's something that I have now adopted that she says all the time. She's constantly saying, I have too many tabs open. And I'll find a day where I've got so many tabs open that absolutely nothing gets done because there's all these little things I have to work on. So in order to get that one thing done, I basically close those tabs. I just say, okay, I am not working on that project. I am not working on that project. And I say, okay, look at that. It's 9 o'clock right now. I'm going to give myself until 10 o'clock to finish to this point, period. Everything is off. I don't look at emails. I don't check anything. Mm-hmm. I don't respond to any. Okay, I respond to the kids if they need it, but I close myself in. Exactly.
No distractions.
And I put my head down and I work, and I the only thing I look at is the clock while I'm doing that. I'm like, oh, look, it's 10 of 10. Wow, I got a ton of work done. I can take a break now.
Yeah, So I do that. So I do tend to have a lot of tabs open, especially on my computer and also in my head.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean.
Because I'm a mom and, homeschool too and all that. So when I get to that point, which I'm trying to do better with, so I got to figure out a better way, but I do close all my tabs. No matter what's up there, I just close them. And then I pick the one thing that's the most important that needs to be done right now.
And it is good to kind of set that distraction-free mode, and certain apps that we use, and even WordPress has like distraction-free mode where everything is just a blank slate, set things aside. One example I have is, God forbid, the Facebook. I mean, if it wasn't for my business and my community and my fans, I would have no reason to go there. But it's just like so distracting, and you go down that rabbit hole and you might realize, but you're not working on what you were working on. So you have to just set that aside and either set those times aside or literally install apps and browser extensions to make sure that you don't go to those places. But I agree. It's like, once you get into that distraction-free zone, I have a hard time like getting started, but once you get started, those wheels start rolling and you do become productive. And you, like Glynn said, you're an hour or two later, you realize, oh, you got some work done.
Yeah, and it feels good.
The flow begins. So we're coining that phrase now. Too many tabs open. That belongs to Rose.
That's it.
No,
And
many
it comes
people
back
have it, I'm
to
sure.
celebrating those small accomplishments when you realize, oh, hey, I wrote a chapter, or I got that one sequence written, or I did whatever X needed to be done to get to Y. Celebrate that however you need to,
Yeah.
internally,
Mhm.
whatever it takes. Shout it from get into the RV Entrepreneurs Facebook group and say, look what I did today. Do something to celebrate those things and move on, right?
Right.
We're humans. We need to celebrate little
Yeah,
things.
we need some positive self-talk too.
Yeah.
I think we're too harsh and negative at times and comparing ourselves to others. So when we have a little win, celebrate.
Agreed.
So any final thoughts on setting goals, either personally, maybe, as personal trainers, maybe you guys could kind of talk to us about the benefits of having a goal in your training, or what do you think about when it comes to, like, what are the benefits of, we had a whole episode about healthy body, healthy business, that sort of thing. But when it comes to goals, we have personal and health and business goals. Do you have any final thoughts on it?
We never really liked the January rush in our business. I always felt like they were more tire kickers, and this is my big goal. And I always had to peel that onion down and like, okay, let's back
really
up.
want?
What do you really want to change? What are you afraid of?
Mhm.
Because it's not that you want this different physique. You're afraid of something. So we never really set big goals with our clientele. I need to back up a little bit too, because we did so much pre-post rehab and like joint replacement stuff that it's not the kind of goal that most people are assuming right now with, oh, I want to look better, I want to be more fit.
Mhm.
It's more, I actually want to be able to go upstairs because of right now I can't physically walk upstairs.
Right.
So we have to break those down into very, very, very small, little chunked goals.
That's what I was going to say. We usually broke them down very small, day by day, week by week, what they wanted to accomplish. Yeah.
That's a great analogy there about peeling the onion. We're noticing here at this wonderful gym at this resort we're at, and all of a sudden it's so busy and everyone's in there probably because they want to, reach that goal. But I think in health, in business, whatever that goal is, you got to ask yourself, why do you want to get there? And what are the steps it takes to get there?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be here?
Yeah. And you can't move too hard, too fast in that beginning because you'll burn out. That's with everything, business, life, health.
We do. And we're here to help people not burn out. So,
right.
Let's change gears here a bit. In business and in growing our customer base and such, you had a great thought here, Glynn, about talking about promises, keeping promises that we make to our customers, our staff, keeping promises to ourselves, keeping promises to our vendors. And, maybe we just talk for a moment here about the benefits of promises. And I'll start with, making promises. It's important to make promises because it establishes trust, right? A promise kind of signals reliability and commitment. When you read something from a company or a brand and they're promising something, you're going to assume that they're going to keep that promise. We'll talk about, the ramifications of not keeping the promises, but the promise fosters trust in your brand. And when customers know they can count on you, they're more likely to purchase and remain loyal. So another reason you want to make those goals is to set expectations, right? You want to tell customers what they can expect from you. And this is it's why it's really important to make sure you make clear, realistic promises. You don't want to overpromise. And finally, I would say that another reason for making promises is to stand out from the crowd. A meaningful promise helps you stand out in the crowded marketplace. When you say something like fast delivery or no questions asked returns, you're going to stand out and your brand's going to be more appealing. So why don't you guys talk to me for a minute about the ramifications or the problems with breaking promises?
That was not in our vocabulary. Breaking promises.
Just
no.
Didn't break promises. I would never break a promise to my staff or to our vendors, and especially our customers. And we spoke on a previous episode about promise the donkey, promise
unicorn.
a donkey and deliver a unicorn. Um, you know, I did that all the time with our customers because I wanted to be honest with them
Transparent.
and make a promise that I knew that I could keep and then over deliver on that promise. So I can't even really talk to you about ramifications as far as what we've experienced with breaking a promise because we just didn't do that.
Well, that's the way we set it up too, like you said, how we deliver that promise.
How we deliver it. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. And speaking, about staff, I would never make a promise to my staff that I wouldn't keep or do myself. Um, and another good example is, vendors. You order something for a vendor, and then everyone seems to wait forever to pay them. If I make a promise to pay them,
Mhm.
I always paid my vendors the next day or on the same day. And, in the very beginning, I would even overpay sometimes. And guess who got treated the best and got the fastest shipment on whatever they were ordering? We did.
Mhm. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, breaking those promises is it's not in our vocabulary either, and that's why we make realistic promises. We don't promise the moon if we
Right.
know we're only going to give Detroit. You can get you there.
You really want to give Detroit? I think. Did you just break your promise? Sorry, Detroiters.
But you're going to lose customers and credibility if you break your promises, and they're going to spread that words, and they probably won't come back, or they're not going to purchase in the first place. But business really suffers, not only the financial loss, but in terms of some major promises, you could possibly face legal ramifications too. And that's why, some best practices to avoid breaking these promises might include, be realistic. Make promises that you're confident you can actually keep. You want to make sure that
Thank you.
you only
Yes.
promise what you can make, right? And communicate clearly. Ensure that customers understand the scope of that promise. Like, for instance, a brand might offer a promise that is vague, and the customer thinks means it includes X, but it doesn't include Y. So you got to be clear in your communication there, and understand the scope of the limitations of those promises. Otherwise, the customer is going to think they were broken when you just didn't communicate it in the first place. But I think the bottom line is, to be safe, you got to under promise and over deliver, like you said with the donkey and the unicorn there. You got to exceed your promises and create promises
Yes.
that you're more likely to exceed than to break, right?
For
Right.
sure. I mean, I think you summed it up nicely where, be very clear with your promise
Mhm.
and only make promises that you absolutely can keep.
Mhm.
And I'll provide a personal example for us with tripods and our amputee animal support community. When it comes to products we sell, harnesses and things that people need to help their animal, we promise to offer the absolute best support. Renee will actually get on the phone and talk with someone for an hour, or get on a video call with someone to show how to use the harness. And our greatest competitor out there is Amazon and other places that don't do that, where you can never talk to humans. So we promise the ability to talk to a human. We have a toll-free number people can call, and either to determine which harness might be right for them, or if they're having trouble sizing it or whatever. The challenge is, the customers often they think they know everything, or they don't want to hear the answer, and they will just automatically, send it back without reading our return guidelines, and realize that, you might not need a return because it all comes down to how you're sizing it. So have you guys ever had any problems with, like, the we say the customer is always right, but when they may not be right, how do you keep the promise to someone who doesn't believe in your promise?
Let's see. There's one example. There's a few examples with our old business where, because we had like an automatic credit card charge situation where they would finish X number, and then when they came back for the first of the next X number, it would automatically recharge. And on several occasions, it would happen where, like, you mischarged me. That was wrong. That was not my first or whatever session. And I'm like, my initial response every time was, in my head, I'm going, actually, the software is keeping track of this. But in my head, I'm like, I know I'm right. But what they heard was, I appreciate you pointing that out. My apology. I just comped this session today. So you're not even paying for today's session. And that was the end of the discussion. And I just reset their number in the software.
Mhm.
So was that, did I lose $80 right there? Yes. But did I gain the next $320 or $480 a month from that customer?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that comes back to promising, what I think is the most important promise is to offer the absolute best customer support you can, because it's easier to
Yes.
keep a customer than it is to get a new customer.
Not just easier, but way less expensive.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Your RV adventures are worth sharing. With an RV Life profile, you can connect with a community of RV enthusiasts, engage in meaningful conversations, and inspire others on their journey. It's not just about where you go, it's about the memories you make and the people you meet along the way. Start sharing your unique RV experiences at rvlife.com.
So let's talk about building these relationships, because we just talked about, keeping them happy and, making these promises and keeping these promises. But you had two kind of suggestions here, Glynn, for the rest of the discussion. One was like genuinely caring for your business and customers. And then you also suggested let's talk about, building relationships with your clientele rather than just making a sale. And I think those go hand in hand. So I know you guys, were passionately caring for your business and customers. How does that relate to the relationships you built with them? And what's the importance of that?
I think, we prided ourselves on being the cheers of training facilities. And it really comes down to if that person feels loved and respected and like they're truly being listened to, they become family. And it's hard not to reciprocate when they start to treat you like family. All of a sudden, they become your family. And that it goes beyond you just caring about that person. Now it becomes a nurturable relationship. We used to send, I guess that's more about building the relationship. So as an example for, how we initially cared about potential clientele in our business, we had a facility that was located inside an ice rink. It was very difficult to find us inside that ice rink, but we did have an eagle eye view on both sides, one over top of one of the rinks where we could watch hockey games, and the other window view looked out on the parking lot. So we would always know that we had a trial session come in. They've never been there before. They didn't know how to find us, even though I gave very, very specific directions. So we would, as the trainers, I would say, okay, you've got Jim's coming in at 5:00 today. Everyone knows that Jim is coming in, all the other trainers that are working, so that if Jim finds his way up the stairs and finds our studio without us needing to help him, then as soon as he walks in that door, all of us look over. We know that we don't know this person. So obviously this is Jim walking in the door. And every trainer stops and says, "Hey, Jim, welcome to Paradigm." And all of a sudden, Jim just lights up. Yeah. He's happy to be there. He's no longer anxious about coming into this place. He's not afraid, like Rose said. Sometimes we'll see someone leave their car in the parking lot, and then they'll go back to their car, and then they'll look at their phone. And I'm like, you know what? I bet that's Jim. And I'd say, hey, Rob, you're training him. Go quick downstairs, run out the front door, and approach that person and ask if he's Jim. And sure enough, that was Jim. And Jim is like, oh my God, this business cares enough to come find me and help me find the facility. So that's where that really caring about the customer starts. And from that point, the caring never stopped. It only grew.
Yeah, before you even work with them, it's just starting right there, building that relationship.
You know you're in the right place. You know you're welcome, and you're going to get promised certain things, and these people are probably going to keep those promises. And I would say the same thing should go for any online presence, whether it's a website. When you first go to, you want to know that you're in the right place because that brand or company identifies your pain in their copy and their messaging and their imagery. Or if you're a content creator and you're making videos, you're going to identify your audience and feel welcome. So the first thing to do when trying to build relationships with the customer is, make them feel welcome and get to know them, and make sure they get to know you quickly by, introducing yourself and making sure that they're welcome and they're in the right place. That's a great analogy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that part.
You summed that up nicely. Thank you.
And it goes on, when you build that relationship, you want to keep that clientele, coming and feeling welcome, because like we said, it's a lot easier to keep customers and a lot less expensive to keep customers than it is to get to know them. We do this in our world, in our business, by creating that trust and building relationships. So many guests I've interviewed for this show have talked about the value of being genuine in their messaging, as well as maintaining relationships. And I'll drop some links in the show notes about that. But with my tripods hat I wear, we do this by building community, making people feel welcome in a safe space away from the vitriol of social media, and nurturing not just our relationship with them, but among each other. We build a community and a platform in such a way that all of a sudden people are helping each other. And over the years in our community, we've had people chip in and buy an air conditioner for another member and have it delivered to them and installed, because they were in a hot area and didn't have an air conditioner. And it's just amazing, heartwarming to see that happen when these people have never met in person and they pull together and they're helping each other. And that's kind of the importance of nurturing those relationships, not just with your customer, but among your customer. And it makes me think of one of my favorite books on the subject here. It's Peter Shankman's Zombie Loyalists. And he has this premise that, it's much better to have 10 rabid fans than it is to have 100 that are just like clicking like once in a while. And you create the marketing engine by creating a sense of community and creating those loyalists that are just, eager for your product, zombie loyalists, quote unquote, that they're going to go out and spread the word for you. So it's really important to make those customers feel welcome, make them feel like family, and keep growing that relationship among yourself and them. How about relationship like among your vendors? And I know one of the hats you wear, Glynn, you deal with lots of partners and vendors and distribution systems and production. What does this translate to? Vendor relationship, just not just customers?
Absolutely. You don't have to take it to extreme that we would take it with it that we did at Paradigm. You don't have to send them thank you letters or notes or things like that, but you do have to be very upfront and
communicate
and quick to quick to communicate and show genuine appreciation, because they really are helping you.
And when it comes to the customers, again, there's plenty of ways and platforms that people can use to get that relationship going and nurture those relationships. One way we do it is we offer free Zoom calls. So we have a membership community. It's free to join. And then if you want extra bells and whistles, you can pay a certain fee. But everything is, more or less all the resources are free, including a monthly call where they can sit down, and first thing we say is there's no selling on this show. It's not even a show. It's like, there's no selling here. Let's just talk. Let's welcome people. And it's paid off because we have members that have been with us from the very beginning. They've stuck with us, and they are, their dog may have passed long ago, but they're still around and they're helping the other people. So there's plenty of platforms out there for building community. We're in the process of migrating our own discussion forums to a platform called Circle. I'll get that show link in the show notes as well, but it's a way away from social media and advertising and algorithms, but it provides that familiar feed and private messaging and an easy way for people to engage with others.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Circle.
Yeah, very
good. That's a good choice on your end.
We're almost there. We're about ready to launch that. So we'll be sharing that in the group for sure when we do that. So here it is. It's more or less time to stop saying Happy New Year by the time this comes out. We've talked about goals and intention, making promises to customers, the importance of that and the importance of keeping them, caring about your business and your customers, and building relationships. You guys have anything else to add for our listeners?
I would say don't forget about your health, because that health will help your business. That's your business's foundation right there. So don't neglect that. Take care of yourself. Move, get outside, eat well. That'll help everything.
If you're putting high octane fuel, if you got high octane fuel in the tanks, then you're gonna burn better and get more done.
but you don't want to burn out too quickly. So I'm sure there's a fine line
Oh, no.
there. But the discussion here makes me think of the monks, and it was Jay Shetty, I believe it was, that was talking about his time when he was becoming a monk, and he learned about self-care first. The monks spend the first third or the first quarter of their day caring for their health, getting their nutrition, doing their exercise, and caring for themselves, doing their own meditation, and then they go out and help the others. It's like putting the oxygen mask on first, right?
Definitely.
Well, that makes me a monk.
I guess we're both monks.
We really do got to care for ourselves first, and then that will translate and get us more energized to get on with the day. So I think we're going to let everyone else get on with their day and encourage people to drop by the RV Entrepreneur Facebook group and let us know what you want to hear on the next Ask Us Anything.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
So, do you make New Year's resolutions? Do you always keep them? Or do you take more of a gonzo approach to goal setting like me? This year, Renee and I are setting our sights on achievable accomplishments guaranteed to help grow our own membership community and nurture relationships. We're starting right now by launching our support community on Circle. Oh, and Renee is doing her one thing every day and every month, which align with her one thing for the year. We do agree on that goal, which is to simplify. We're streamlining our efforts and doing our best to not keep too many tabs open in our business and in our life. As an RV entrepreneur, that line gets pretty blurry. But these tools I've mentioned help us maintain balance. So check the show notes and post in the RVE Facebook group to tell us about your goals and keep this discussion going. As far as key takeaways, in case you missed it, I'm a firm believer that when it comes to reaching your goals, it's all about the journey, not the destination. So put your oxygen mask on first, set the bar low, don't keep too many tabs open, and don't worry. I'm pretty done with talking about analogies. This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout.